Sydney Sweeney seems to be executing a controlled demolition of her career that would make Building 7 jealous, and the question has to be asked, what is the plan here?
Yep, and this is why Zendaya won't work with her now.
Sydney knows, okay? She knows. She knows who's in her corner. She knows what she's doing. She knows about the controversy of it.
Today we're looking at the reasons why popular actress Sydney Sweeney is facing a growing amount of backlash. She's been widely praised for her acting in shows like Euphoria and White Lotus, but lately she has been heavily criticised, and it appears that some people are starting to turn against her. We're going to be looking at what she did, why people are upset, and how it's affecting her career. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Sydney Sweeney is an American actress who was born in Spokane, Washington in 1997. She started acting around the age of 13 and landed a few minor roles in shows such as Heroes, Grey's Anatomy and Pretty Little Liars, among others. However, in 2019, she appeared in the HBO drama Euphoria, for which she received an Emmy nomination, which catapulted her to global stardom. She's since been involved in other highly successful projects such as The White Lotus, as well as a string of high-budget movies. As a result of her meteoric rise to fame, she started receiving a lot of high-profile brand deals and has now become one of Hollywood's next big stars. But with that huge rise in popularity also came a lot of scrutiny and criticism for some of the things that she's done, so let's go into those now. One of the earliest controversies Sydney was involved in happened back in 2022 at her mother's 60th birthday party. Photos emerged of guests wearing red baseball caps that said "Make 60 Great Again" and Blue Lives Matter t-shirts, which many people interpreted as echoing the MAGA movement, or Make America Great Again, by Donald Trump. Sydney soon received a huge amount of criticism from fans who questioned why she would align herself with people who were seemingly supporting the MAGA movement, especially as Sydney's public image was about empowering women. However, soon after these photos emerged, Sydney said in an interview with Variety that, quote, "There were so many misinterpretations. The people in the pictures weren't even my family." She added that the people wearing the hats were friends of her mother, who thought it would be funny to wear them because the party took place in Idaho, which was a state that went to Trump in the election. Sydney also said, quote, "People are so fast to build someone up and then they love tearing them down, and it's so fascinating to see. 3 years ago I was going to college just like everybody else, and all of a sudden I'm not a human anymore." But despite this clarification, people still criticise Sydney because it looked bad, especially in today's political climate, and even ambiguous associations with right-wing symbolism can shift public perception, especially for a woman whose early fan base leaned younger and more liberal. And so this incident started to cause some distrust among segments of her audience. But that was not the only incident Sydney was criticised for. A more recent criticism came after Sydney's collaboration with the men's personal care brand Dr. Squatch, where she helped launch a limited edition soap that apparently included drops of Sydney's actual bathwater.
You guys only want one thing?
And that's apparently Sydney Sweeney's bathwater. You asked for it, so you know what we did? Our team and Sydney kept her bathwater from this bath and made soap with it, with Sydney's permission. Sydney's bathwater bliss.
Some called this move provocative, while others said it ventured into self-objectification and pandering to a male audience. For example, some critics said, "Why is a serious actress selling soap with bathwater? Is this the career move we expected?" Whereas others defended Sydney, saying it was just playful marketing. But the broader effect was it added to a sense that Sydney is a less serious and more publicity-chasing person than people had previously assumed. But the big controversy was yet to come. In mid-2025, Sydney received a huge amount of backlash due to a campaign that she did for the denim brand American Eagle. The ad tagline played on the pun of Sydney having great genes.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
On social media, people criticised the pun of genes as evoking eugenics and white supremacist undertones, especially given Sydney's blonde hair, blue eyes, and the imagery of desirable genetics.
They had a blonde hair, blue-eyed, white woman sit in front of a camera and play with the words Gene with a J and jeans with a G. And then said, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. And y'all don't see nothing wrong with that? There's this guy in history, his name is losing me, who used that same ideology to unalive groups of people, stating that people with that genetic makeup were superior. What's his name again? Hitler!
For those of you who don't know, eugenics is a theory popular among white supremacists that suggests that the human race could be improved by breeding out, quote, less desirable traits.
In the extremely conservative climate that we're in today, where the right wing and white nationalism and patriotism is rising, this advert is a dog whistle to racists out there that basically confirms that their way of thinking and way of life is correct. Instead of having lots of different actors from different backgrounds being in this advert showing that all genes are good genes, they specifically chose a blonde hair, blue-eyed, white actress whose family is MAGA, by the way, and she voted for Trump, advertising that she has great genes.
After the ad came out, many viewers took to social media saying that the ad was, quote, tone deaf. Sydney got heavily criticised, with many people publicly calling for the ad to be pulled. American Eagle later defended the ad, insisting that the message behind it had been misinterpreted, and they continued to run the ad.
Sydney Sweeney's controversial Good Genes campaign, it's been insanely good for American Eagle. And in fact, you now have the company saying they're going to do more work with Sweeney later this year. Because while there was some backlash of people saying that it was kind of dog whistly or it was promoting eugenics, it appears that, some people loving it, some people hating it. Any publicity is good publicity because American Eagle stock soared 30% as of this morning after the brand released a strong earnings report and claimed that Sweeney's campaign was largely to thank.
For a long time, Sydney did not address the backlash, but in an interview with GQ in November 2025, Sydney was asked how she felt about the ad.
Were you surprised by the reaction?
I did a gene ad. I mean, the reaction definitely was a surprise, but it was, I love jeans. All I wear are jeans. I'm literally in jeans and a t-shirt like every day of my life.
Jeans are uncontroversial. Jeans are awesome. Is there something that you want to say about the ad itself? The Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. Do you have...
The ad spoke for itself.
You think the ad spoke for itself?
Yeah.
Okay. And the criticism of the content, which was basically that maybe specifically in this political climate, like white people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. And since you are talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
But after this interview with GQ came out, some people criticised Sydney even further, saying that she clearly didn't seem to understand why people were upset and didn't seem to care. They also felt that her responses seemed to lack self-awareness.
This response did not go over well with certain audiences because they feel like Sydney was purposely being smug, apathetic, and dismissive.
Choosing not to say something in the current political climate says everything. If I was Sydney Sweeney and the entire internet thought that I championed eugenics, that I believed that I was a white supremacist, that I was a racist person, and an interviewer asked me point blank, like, hey, people think that you're a eugenicist. They think that you believe that white people are superior. You sit there and you go, I did a gene ad. I like jeans. When I have something to say, you'll know. It's very weird to me as a political scientist to not refute this, to not immediately say, of course I don't believe in eugenics.
One of the other parts of the backlash came about when reports circulated saying that Sydney was reported to be a registered Republican in Florida in 2024. The reason this is relevant for many people is that when the American Eagle backlash happened, President Donald Trump, who is Republican, started posting about it. And when he was asked about it, he said that he liked Sydney now that he found out she's a Republican.
Actress Sydney Sweeney, it came out this weekend that she was a registered Republican. Any thoughts on that?
That who was?
Sydney Sweeney. She's like a very hot actress right now.
She's a registered Republican?
Yes.
Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
And then when Sydney was asked about this response from Donald Trump in the interview with GQ, this is what she had to say.
I think I know how you're going to answer this, but I'm going to ask anyway. I mean, the president tweeted about the jeans ad, or Truth Socialed about the jeans ad, and that just seems to me like a very crazy moment for anyone, and I wondered what that was like.
It was surreal.
It was surreal.
Mm-hmm.
So why is all of this important? Well, many critics have started to say that there's a growing amount of evidence building up which suggests that Sydney may be potentially aligning herself with the right wing, which is in stark contrast to how many of her young fans align themselves, and it also goes against a lot of the things that Sydney has previously said in public. Then, in addition to these controversies and the public relation missteps that we've discussed, Sydney is also facing a potential career challenge after a string of recent theatrical releases have significantly underperformed. For example, in the recent biopic movie Christy, which came out in 2025, Sydney plays Christy Martin, who is one of America's best-known female boxers whose ex-husband tried to murder her, and she later came out as a lesbian. The movie opened across 2,000 theaters in the US, but it only grossed about $1.3 million in its opening weekend, which placed it among the worst openings ever. Another of her recent movies, Americana in 2023, made under $500,000 domestically against a budget of $9 million. Similarly, the movie Eden in 2024 opened to about $1 million in the US despite a production budget of around $35 million. The superhero movie Madame Web in 2024, which Sydney had a significant role in, also got panned by the critics. It reportedly cost over $80 million to make and made less than $100 million worldwide. These commercial failures matter because they weaken her status as a reliable box office draw for studios, which in turn could affect future deals, budgets, and marketing support. They also feed into a broader narrative that her choices, such as the roles, branding, and public image, may not be resonating with audiences. This is also combined with the controversies such as the MAGA party, the jeans ad, and her unapologetic tone, which amplify this sense that maybe her popularity is starting to dwindle. Sydney was then asked about her recent box office flops, and she said, quote, "We don't always just make art for numbers," and that the Christie movie was, quote, "the most important project of my life." However, actor Ruby Rose recently criticised Sydney's performance in the Christie movie, citing that a lesbian actor should have played the role, and even called Sydney a, quote, "cretin" after the recent backlash against her due to her political affiliations with the right wing. Ruby said, quote, "The original Christy Martin script was incredible, life-changing. I was attached to play Cherry. Everyone had experience with the core material. Most of us were actually gay. It's part of why I stayed in acting. Losing roles happens all the time." For her, meaning Sydney's PR, to talk about it flopping and saying Sydney did it for, quote, "the people," none of, quote, "the people want to see someone who hates them parading around pretending to be us. You're a cretin and you ruined the film. Period. Christie deserved better. And so, for the time being, it appears that Sydney Sweeney has become somewhat of a potential controversial figure and may have lost a portion of her fan base. Although there are also several actors who have come to her defense and said that the hate against her is unjustified. So only time will tell if all of this recent backlash has permanently affected Sydney's career or whether it's just a passing storm. And we'll have to see if she ever further addresses these criticisms and what that will mean for her future as a Hollywood A-lister. But let me know what you think. Do you think the backlash against Sydney is justified, or do you think that it's been blown out of proportion? Let me know in the comments. And as I always say in my videos, please do not send hate to anyone involved. These videos are just for educational and informative purposes, but please do not get involved and just consume this type of content passively. If you'd like to get early access to my videos as well as other benefits, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. It just costs a few dollars a month and it really helps support my channel, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. Please make sure you like and comment on this video to help tell the algorithm this is a great video, and please make sure you subscribe to my channel because it really does make a huge difference. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in a future video. Thank you, bye!